So, okay, furniture, or create your own little thing that is outside of the norm. We do have, I think I started talking about it already, component model in place. This is to do, not necessarily weird, but like just slightly off, not necessarily standardized elements that you might need to model in relation to your project. Okay, this model in place is good because it shows your project and you can refer to the project to create things that you want to do that are not standard. Okay, so model in place is, I tend to like to work model in place in the view in axonometric, and I also tend to like to maybe hide some elements so you can actually work nicely from the top. Okay, so now is the moment, if I want the furniture to be located here, to use the model in place component. Model in place is going to ask you to what type of family you want to insert, and you could generate anything you want from any family components that you want within Revit. We're going to be using furniture, but it could be that you do it in your particular stair, you do in a particular wall, or anything that's slightly, again, outside of the standard world. You give a title, a name for that. Furniture test does not make sense. You should use like a table or whatever it is, table, dining room, or whatever it is. And it tones down, as I mentioned last week, everything. So you can start generating whatever you want with new set of tools that are different from the Revit project tools. Then it's a bit more close to other softwares, Ryan and Company, such as Extrusion, Blend, Revolve, and so on. Turn down, but you can still refer to the project. That's why the model in place it's helpful, because you can use elements of the project. You might use the line of the wall or any other thing. For example, extrusion, and you can use, for example, the lines. To do an extrusion, you basically have to create a closed polyline. Sounds familiar because any other software does that. And let's imagine there's a weird counter here. Okay, close polyline. Here on the parameters, you can control from where to where it extrudes. So its extrusion end is 1. You can change that afterwards. You can say okay, and extrudes. You're given some tools to work this manually, but it's best as always that you work with the parameters. So, what is the height of your counter? Like 3 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet, whatever it is, no? Okay, you can, before you say you're finished with the model, you can also select the model and you can change the material of this. Could be the classic materials, or you can create your own materials. We've talked about materials often, so you can create your own material for the furniture or whatever it is. And then once you assign a material, you say finish, and there you have your wooden counter. Okay, so we have this wooden element here. How could I make it a bit more funky? Maybe there are things that you can do with extrusions that are relatively easy. You could do like a base for this. It's very low, for example. And then you can just create another extrusion on top by picking lines. The pick line is an option that you can always use for many of these things. And then you can say start from a little bit above and then end in the 3. And you can just take this down. If I had the, a bit more careful, kind of a set of parameters, I would be able to control the heights exactly. I can edit the extrusion and basically take that line slightly back and say, okay. Oops, sorry. I didn't want to do that. I want to edit the one on the bottom, edit extrusion. Okay, So you can also assign another material for this other piece, and it could be a different type of wood. Oak flooring, which doesn't make any sense, but why not? There you go. So now we have a detail. So we're using those two extrusions. You have this setback, and potentially you can even do a real counter with a, I don't know, a stone material. So I can select this element and edit it as many times as I want. Edit in place, and then again I can create another extrusion and pick lines as I did before. And I can start at 3 this occasion and end up at 2 inches, for example. I can also take it out a little bit. Oops. Take it out a notch. So I can just do an offset, but I could also do it manually. What's wrong? Oh, I didn't select this element here. Okay, and this I could edit it again, or just change the materiality, and it could be a stone. Could be a concrete. So notice that, you know, by just shifting a couple of set of extrusion, this is one single model with 3 extrusions inside. Okay, so now I can go to the rendering, and there you have this little nice thing that you can easily render. You can do, by the way, render region. I don't know if you have talked about it, but you can just select the portion of the render if you don't want to render the whole thing. I could even place, now that I think, another person. I think I placed some people here last time. Didn't I? Okay, so Lol family and Trush. This funky guy. Perfect. And again, rendering region, and we can render just the fellow with a counter and so on. So extrusions are quite straightforward. I recommend that you think as one piece of furniture might have many extrusions, might have other, you know, like elements to it, but don't do one extrusion, finish, and then do another model in place to do another extrusion that relates to that same model. You want to complete the whole, let's call it counter, with as many tools as you need, and then say, I'm good with that, no? Okay, so what if we want to do a couple of cuts? That's another thing we can do. I can edit in place, we'll keep on working further. And there's the other option, which is the void forms that you can cut out from the model. So if I do a void extrusion, and I'm just gonna do something here, whatever funky or just simple. This extrusion is actually cutting through everything, no? And the extrusion, whenever you place it, it's like a ghost in a way. So you wouldn't see it per se, but it is there. So you can actually like travel and hover on top of it until you can select it, and you can edit the parameters or even edit the extrusion of the void to have a particular thing here, such as a curve or whatever it is that you want. No, so that would be like a Boolean difference in a way. Got it. You can also add, again, as I was doing before, you can just start adding elements on top. So again, that would be like a full piece that is completed, and you're happy to go and you're done. No. A good thing about the model in place is I used exactly the wall to refer to the first line of the definition of the plan of the furniture now, which would be difficult otherwise to do. But there's an opportunity to do furniture not using model in place, which is this option, but using a family option. So you can say file, can say new, family, go to the furniture, and it opens a new realm in Revit defined by nothing. It's just starting a new file. It's just a new file of a furniture family. This is, you will be working exactly the same in this environment, but notice how it's slightly different. You have reference levels, ceiling plans, 3D views, but it doesn't have a lot of the things that the project has. I can still do the same elements, extrusion, and I can do any kind of extrusion I want. I can say, okay, and go to the 3D and work with these things with the parameters, say 6 inches, and I can do another extrusion and, I don't know, place it on top. Say, okay, and this comes further up to 6 to 5 feet, for example, and that's going to be made of metal. So we can change the material. So I'm just trying to assign a material here. It's not letting me do much. Anyway, you can assign the material there with no problem. And then you can move this further up. You don't move things, you don't copy things like you do in Rhino. You always have to think of parameters, and you always have to think of a one element per family file. You don't start connecting things or copying things and testing things here. If you want to test, you just save as, and you have several files assigned to it. Okay, let me see if I can do it now. Okay, not many there, so I might need to create my own material, rename metal, and bring the material from the library. Such as aluminum. Okay, and this one can perfectly be moved. I think that was 5 feet. So I can move this extrusion 5 feet, and then this 5 and 6 inches. And this one could be a different material. There you go. Okay, so you need to, when you're working with the family setting, not with a model in place, you can save, Control S, give it a name, the same way we call the other one, furniture table. And what you do now is model, load it into the project, and it will come as a unit. I didn't put the leg in the center, but that's okay. That's a huge thing. It's a monster. So it's the height of a person, it's almost like a roof. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between the first option, which is model in place, and the second option, which is create my own family. The model in place is something that you're using, you're working within the project. The project is still there. You can refer to the project by clicking things in the project, referring to the lines of the project, et cetera, et cetera. And the other option is new family. So you're doing a furniture project from the beginning, from zero. Normally, if you do the second option, it is because it's a piece that could go to this project, but it could go to your friend's project or to your boss projects or whatever it is. No, so it's an element that could be in isolation working perfectly. And normally, the model in place is more like the case I did. It's like really link to the project that you're doing, and it should depend in a way more to it. You would have, I mean, you could share it with another project, but only if it has like a wall, a space in front with that generosity that this project has, et cetera, et cetera. When you create the model in place option, you have the edit in place, it tones down everything. But when you create a family element, you select the element, you can say edit family. That will bring you back to the family file, and you can edit things here again, changing the parameters. Let's say now it's a 3, and this is going to be 3, 3. This one was going to be.
For our project, for like this, is there like a requirement if we should do like a family or a model in place, or either one works?
Whatever you want. As long as you, I mean, it's for me, it's important that you understand both systems. So it's if you're bringing families from the web, you're pretty much learning how to, open a family and load it into the project. So that's fine. And if you're learning through the model in place how to create furniture, in a way, you're learning the exact same things that you need to do in the family way. So it's okay, no problem. So again, here I change a couple of elements. So I save it and load it to the project. It's going to ask me, do you want to override it? Because basically something has changed. It's almost like a link in InDesign. So you normally say override the existing version, its parameter values, and there it goes down. No? Okay, more. We've seen extrusions. Let's see something else. Let's say model in place, for example, another furniture, test 2. And we have the blend option. Okay, blend option is basically, think of it as a loft of only 2 curves. Fortunately, loft does not exist in this interface. You can create a closed polyline for the bottom, and then another closed polyline for the top. In this image is quite straightforward how it works. No? Here's the thing. If I now create, let's say, a circle here, both curves are actually in the same plane. So if you do a loft between this first rectangle and this curve, it's basically not a form. It's like a plane. So it's going to say that's not going to. Oh, we did it. Amazing. I don't know how I did it. I guess I drew it a little bit further up. But I was thinking that I think it has taken it up by itself. We used to not do that back in the times. But the important thing is that if you want to draw curves in different planes, you need to learn, as what I started last class to teach, which is this idea of the set, the working plane. This is also under project. Set working plane allows you to create curves wherever you want. Okay, how does it work? Well, you set the project plane, working plane, and you have several options to say, hey, I want the plane here, there, etc., etc. Okay, so you can pick a plane, you can name it, and you have several options here always, and that means that I can create my own plane. And you can also pick a line and use the work plane you were sketching. So that's something that also works, but I normally use the first 2 options. Okay, let's imagine I pick a plane for now. You can pick any plane. So I'm going to choose that plane on top. Notice how it highlights in blue. How do I know whether I'm working on that plane or not? You can show the working plane, and there it is. I can take a look, and whatever curve you do now, you're doing in that particular plane. So if I create a circle, it is drawn in that exact plane. So now, yes, I have 2 curves, one rectangle and a circle above, they're distant from each other and also they're parallel. That's how the blend works. If you say okay, you got yourself the coolest, well, not the coolest, but a quite cool type of seating area. Maybe you can even lower it down a little bit and give it a material. And finish the model. Okay, now that should be in the render. Here, this monster. Okay, that's model in place, blend. But what if I do a new family, furniture, and I do the same. I use the blend option. Well, here it's going to work the same way. You just need two geometries. I'm going to use the center for this. I see that one, and I can show the plane to make sure, well, where am I working right now? Working exactly on the, where is the reference plane here below? I want to create another plane above that, but if I say set, it says pick, but I don't have anything to pick. So how do I work about it? So one way to go is create your own planes. I'm going to the elevation, for example, and I'm going to create a reference plane. So if you don't have a plane that you can work on, like pick, you can create your own plane. You can do it from the top view or from the elevation. Those are the best places to create a plane. I create a plane here, and notice how it says click to name. So I can actually click there and call it like top plane. It's important to rename it because now when I create the edit the top option in my blend, I can say set name, and it's not there. Why is it not there? It's maybe not saved. Let me try again. Claim. Oh, there's one. So I can set it, but it doesn't appear. Normally it should be able to, should tell you the name here. But anyway, what we can do is just pick the plane here and no, can't either. Interesting. I know what's happening. It's before you do that at base, I think. Let me see if that works now. Reference plane, hello. Save it. Let's save it here as furniture. Table 2. And again, we name it. And I think it's because I was doing the plane while I was doing the blend. So I think I can set it now. And there it is. Hello. Should be right there. So let me see. Now if we do the blend, I should be able to set it first to the reference level. Create my circle. Then edit the top and set it again to hello. And there's where it appears. I gave it a name. It says hello. So again, don't do the reference plane while you're doing, an extrusion or a blend. You have to do it before, save the file, and then it will appear in whatever setting of the plane you want. So you can set that. You can even show it to make sure it's above, and then you can do whatever other shape you want. Let me see if I can do something more funky. Okay, so you could do blends of between two different curves. They don't have to be, you know, simple curves. Could be your own polylines, and then you just change them slightly, and they will actually work. Again, as always, you can select it, and you can edit the top or the bottom, etc., etc. So you will save the file, load it into the project. Project is hello. I think I'm calling everything hello. Have to be careful with that. And then you bring the monster here, which will be seen under the render options. I didn't assign any material, so you can always select, edit the family, select the form, and assign whatever material you want. Save class. Save, again, load into the project, and then override because I changed something about the project. There you go, metal class. Okay, so more. Component, metal in place. We're doing furniture, but again, or what if we do like a wall instead? Let's just try something different. But you get the idea that is, if you're doing furniture, we'll select furniture. I'm going to use a wall, and I'm going to say something like a curve wall. Some walls are difficult to conceive with the standards in Revit. So oftentimes you want to create your own wall using the model in place command. So let's imagine we have, I don't know, like a curvy wall in that is, I don't know in what direction. I'm going to use the sweep blend, for example. Okay, sweep blend it's a bit, not necessarily complex, but it has like basically one rail and then two profiles. So you need to sketch a path first. And I'm going to create an arc here. Okay, notice when you create a rail, you're given these two reference planes automatically. That's where you draw your profiles. Okay, so you can actually say okay for the rail, and then you have two profiles, profile 1 and 2. So you go 1, edit profile, and then one of them tones down and the other one is tones out. That's where you're going to draw your profile. And the only place you can work now or create curves is actually in that particular plane. No? I'm going to create a rectangle here. Say okay. Profile 2, edit profile, another rectangle. And if you say okay, look what happens. That's going to be sweeping along that curve, but it's gonna, at the same time, it's going to connect this profile with the other one. I'm going to create that element now. So I can select now particular material, a glass. Okay. There you go. So this particular wall is a little tricky, for example, to do in the standard project in Revit. You can do curves, but curves plus a variation in height. It is possible, but it's a little more difficult. You might want to use this technique. Okay, so again, you can do that in other ways. You can also select it and edit in place and create a void form. No, and then maybe what we can do, let's go to level 1, create a reference plane here, give it a name, like a void plane. Okay. And now we can go to the 3D, create an extrusion, for example, and set the working plane to void plane. So basically I show it and I can work in that direction, and I can do something like, there's an option here that allows you to see, oh, it's not working. We used to work this thing, I don't know what's happening. Anyway, I can create a curve here, close polyline with a particular curve. And what I'm doing is an extrusion in a different direction. Since I created a reference plane that is vertical, I say I want to do an extrusion, and I selected this plane to create the curves that I want, or the closed polyline. Then I can say, okay, it's going to extrude in one direction. I could take it all the way, and it would be going through that element. I'm going to do the same, but instead of with a extrusion, I could use potentially a void extrusion. Set the plane again to void plane. Okay, show it so we can see it. You don't need to show it, but it's good to see it sometimes. And then let's imagine here a little curve as I did before. That supposedly has to cut through, I don't know what happened there. Sorry, I have to open this one. Void extrusion, void plane, can show it, create a line, an arc. Oop. What do you mean it doesn't cut anything? I don't know, sometimes the voids are picky, but theoretically you can do this very easily because I've done it many times. So that void is cutting through that wall, so it should create like an opening there. So anywho, I can try it afterwards with another option there. So you can create these walls, these furniture with those particular elements. So very fast, we do also a new family. Let's say in this case, furniture. And I'm going to call it save, sweep to. I'm going to do the blend sweep blend, and I'm going to create this path. So I could use a bit more complex curves maybe, and then on the complexity of your project. And you can say, okay, that's the rail of this, and then you can say profile 1 and edit profile, and create your own type of profile. Let's do like a funky. Okay, so that would be there. Say okay, profile 2, edit profile, and then I can draw in the other profile and create another similar kind of a cave element. And I think you get the idea of what's going to do, some kind of a, gathering space there. Let's see if it works. There you go. That could be done as a furniture to be seated, and you can change the height of it or anything that requires the two profile sections. You can obviously edit this with the profile, edit it again, and just do some changes as you see them fade, no? And then I can select that one, edit the profile. There you go. So it's almost like integrating to the floor. I can obviously save this, assign a material. No concrete here. Normally families, when you start a family, they don't have all of the standards even, so you can just start creating more of your, your own set of materials. Vamos a ver. New material, right click. Concrete. Library. Polished, comes in, double click. Say okay. And there you have it. Save it. Load into the project. Hello. And I'm not even sure how big this is. Could be like a huge monster or small element. There you go. And there it is in the back. Can move this to the side. The wall will leave it there. Whatever. And there it is. People can lay down inside and so on. Cool. Okay. I think more or less we have it. Modern in Place has, or furniture families and so on have been more options, of course, but they're, given that we've done swept blend, the sweep is very similar. If I go for sweep, let me close stuff because I also have a lot of things. Keep this thing coming now. Close things. Okay. So I was doing a sweep now, so it's the same sketch path, and you can do again Modern Place or family itself. You can do a bit more control curve, or again, as I say, if it's Modern Place, maybe it makes more sense that you use something from your project. For example, you start picking lines here and here, and then you can, for example, do a, I don't know, like an element that is in the corner there. Mm-hmm. So notice that this one only has one reference plane. That means that it's just a bit more simple through one single profile. You can say, okay, you have the profile and edit the profile. That turns up, and then you can create something here. And again, you can use the project kind of elements to work on it a bit more precisely, So it could be, I don't know, I might come something here, like a drop-down ceiling that hides a lamp behind, maybe, I don't know. Okay, that's a cute thing. You select it. Now you can very easily edit the sketch or, edit the path, and you can select it and regulate it so it's precisely in relationship to the project element. So again, you're measuring nicely with the project in mind. So then there you have that. Comes there. And again, you could also assign obviously materials to this piece. Under the material option, I use concrete as well. Not sure where it went, but It is probably there. Anyway, I think I posted somehow. And that's the whole story about model in place. We also have the void options, as I mentioned. And there's one last one I'm just going to do very fast. Another furniture with the revolve option. And the revolve is as simple as basically you need to create an axis and then a profile. No? So if I create an axis, probably it's best that it's actually vertical. So you might want to create a plane that is vertical by pick plane. I'll click that one just as an example and create a line. This line is it's right there in the middle. And that should be, oh, sorry. So that's not the axis line. Line. Boundary line. It's a circle that is done in the same plane. So if I do this thing, I can say okay, and then it will do like a donut thing. I don't know if you want that, but anyway, you could select this and edit it, and revolve, and you can change it to be a bit more obviously what you want it to be. So you can do a line here and do the classic, like seating area. See how that looks. Oh, sorry, that's obviously. Actually, I'm going to use a curve. I don't like this one. Mark from that point to this point and say okay. And we don't see anything because it's in there. But actually, if I do wireframe, you can see how that space is. What we could do is just a void, and hopefully this time works. If I actually do a void extrusion, I can actually go to set this to the level 1, start from the center as if it was a cheese portion in a way. Close that. So that's going to chop out that part, hopefully. And go to the 3D. That's the void. Go up and down. So you come cutting the whole thing up now. Cute. I can select this guy. Again, materials. And this is going to be a copper thing. Rendering. And we have a zoo of stuff here, as you can see. I don't think, I mean, you can do both, again, separated if it's a space that it doesn't have relation with the architecture and you don't need relation to architecture, or you can do it detached or attached to the project with a model in place. So it's a very similar thing in model in place and actually new family, whatever. That's a whole world in Revit. It's straightforward, I think, once you get used to it. The tricky part is actually making sure that your working planes are, you get kind of a hands on the working plane. So you know how to put one on top, perpendicular, above, if you want some angles and so on. But once you figure out the working planes and how you actually can create the curves that generate the solids, then you're in good shape, okay? That's the world of furniture. You can add multiple things. You can add a extrusion to a blend, to a sweat, or et cetera, et cetera. So it doesn't have to be one creates the furniture and that's it. You can add voids if you need them, et cetera, et cetera. They're great for, again, those little weird things that are not necessarily standard in Revit. And they work pretty nice. Obviously, when you section these things, the airbin section. So if there's a particular thing that you're working with, that would be shown as cut as well. Okay. And you could also use the visibility and graphics with the furniture. If you create furniture, and you can, kind of change those parameters, which will start the next video idea that I want to develop.